things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. She's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her? Just illusion, manifestation, or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Multiverse broadcasting system initiated.
Hello.
Lasers.
Multiverse connection established.
Hello.
Multiverse connection secure.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave, hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live across the multiverse from a secret cave hidden high up in the beautifully snow-covered peaks of the Idaho mountains. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we carry on our State of Mystery series. That's right, as we travel from the great big state of California, and we're going to stay out west, just jumping a couple states over to the little state of Colorado. That's right. We have some tales out of Colorado that are of Jurassic proportions. That's right. We got some wild stories tonight, ladies and gentlemen, so hold on to your hats, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride as we travel to the wild state of Colorado. All that and more coming up here in just a moment. But first, today in history. And today's fact I found incredibly interesting in this national climate in which we find ourselves. On this day in 1969, the United States $500, $1,000, $5,000, and $10,000 bills are officially withdrawn from circulation. And again, I find that very interesting in today's climate. And that is today's Today in History. Man, wouldn't it be nice to have enough money to ski on a mountain of $5,000 bills? Of course, they'd have to be from before 1969 to be legit, right? But a mountain of $5,000 bills nonetheless, like Scrooge McDuck, like skiing down it, right? Speaking of skiing, that brings us to our next segment of the evening.
Say what?
Our quote tonight, ladies and gentlemen, comes from Dave Barry, Pulitzer Prize-winning author and humor columnist. He says, each year, millions of skiers come to Colorado to experience its superb emergency medical facilities. End quote. Once again, that is Pulitzer Prize-winning author Dave Barry. And that is today's segment of
Say What?
And would you guys believe that I have literally lived next door to a ski mountain for 4 years and never even donned a pair of skis? That's right. I've never even put on a pair of skis, so I definitely haven't visited the emergency medical for that reason, right? At least. But then again, have you guys ever seen a wolf on a set of skis? Because I know I haven't, right? They like to prey through the wilderness on their own legs, right? Especially when you got a wilderness as big as Colorado. And Colorado is very, very wild and wildernessy. You got the Rocky Mountains, and you got a lot of area in Colorado for a lot of things to happen. And before we get to our cryptids, as we do every week with the State of Mystery series, Our friend Ben Miller from over the Ben Miller YouTube channel over there has found a very, very intriguing fact we're going to get into, and actually relates right in as we get going in the cryptids, as you'll see here in a moment. But a really interesting fact about the state of Colorado that you don't find about most other states. Check this out.
I do want to mention that while many states have official birds, plants, flowers, and others, oddly enough, Colorado actually has a state dinosaur.
That's right. You heard that right. Colorado has its own state dinosaur. And no, this isn't the setup to some joke. Seriously. They really have their own state dinosaur. Ben, what is the state dinosaur of Colorado?
This would be the Stegosaurus.
Nice.
I just thought you'd love hearing that.
I absolutely loved hearing that, and appreciate you sharing that with our audience. What else you got for us tonight in Colorado Cryptids, bud?
Starting off, I wanted to mention that Colorado is said to be home to a lot of unique and odd creatures. So I think it would be best to start with some of the aquatic beings first.
And you guys remember California had THETA. Let's see what Colorado has in store underneath its lakes.
In Lake County, there is said to be a serpent residing under the waters at Twin Lakes Reservoir.
Okay, there's serpents that live in the water in a lot of places, right? I know when I lived in Tennessee, they had a lot of snakes that lived in the rivers, right?
This creature has been seen since the 1880s up until today. For years, people reported seeing a massive serpent-like being swimming under the surface, and it appears to not be too friendly.
Okay, Ben, well, how big are we talking here? What makes it a cryptid?
Fishermen told tale of dropping their anchors, and just before it hit bottom, they would feel something grab a hold of it and start to drag the boat farther out into the water.
Okay, that's pretty big.
The first report came in 1881, when a man named Herman Wolf and his grandson were out in the lake one summer day. Fishermen standing on the bank saw something truly terrifying as they watched the two row out into the water. At one point, Mr. Wolf suddenly stopped rowing and was seen standing up and staring off intently at something further out in the lake. The man started moving to the back of the boat as if he was trying to escape something. It was at this point that his grandson noticed him staring, and so he turned to look back. The boy then shot up and scrambled to get away from whatever the thing was that they saw. The two then were seen falling off into the water, but neither one resurfaced. After a while, rescuers went out to find the pair, but nothing was ever found.
Now that is extremely scary, right? And, you know, we've had these serpent-like creatures like THETA and Nessie in Scotland, right? Loch Ness. And there's been a variety of reports across, you know, the different countries, but we've been getting a variety of reports right across the states so far, right? Against the different waterways in these different states, we're finding these serpent-like creatures. It's interesting, these patterns that are showing up in these states, and we're going to find quite a few tonight, as we'll see.
The next cryptid is one that I'm on the fence about, but I wanted to mention it for posterity.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this one here is going to be my number one favorite cryptid until I find one better. This is a cryptid that is, well, it makes you wonder, do all cryptids have to be big, mean, scary creatures? Or is there such thing as a nice cryptid? Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the friendliest cryptid creature in the world.
Apparently there is a creature known as Blue Dilly that lives in the Lake Dillon Reservoir. This creature is said to be gray in color, has the body of a dolphin, but instead of flippers, it has wings like a manta ray.
Intriguingly enough, that doesn't sound like too far out there. That doesn't sound like a creature that couldn't exist, right?
This creature isn't known to be dangerous, but does like messing with people while they're on the water.
What do you mean when you say it likes to mess with people, Ben?
In one story, a couple were in separate kayaks, and they kept being pushed intermittently by this creature. Now, I hesitate to talk about this being, since the only source I could find was some online book written by a random guy. In this, he claims all kinds of things, such as knowledge of it being supposedly suppressed by a secret society. This throws up my warning flags, but I feel the need to include it, just in case there are known stories about it outside of this guy's book.
If you're in and around Colorado and you've seen the blue dilly, please go ahead and drop us a line in the comment section below or over on ripinrabbithole.com. I would love to hear your story.
Now, going from the water, we head back to land. There have been many reports through the years of people seeing small dinosaurs still roaming about.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you did hear that right. Dinosaurs have been reported in Colorado. Not only is it the state creature, but apparently the state still has some of those creatures, right? And that's not the first time we've heard that, is it? If you've been following the State of Mystery series, you guys might remember Alaska and the multiple accounts of possible dinosaurs that we had up there also.
The skin color varies, but all describe seeing something that stands around 3.5 feet tall and about 5 to 7 feet long and walks on their hind legs. They are said to have very strong muscular hind legs, tiny front limbs, sharp pointy teeth, and a very thick tail.
So it sounds like either a baby Tyrannosaurus Rex or even a Velociraptor.
These beings are collectively known as river dinosaurs due to them frequently being seen around water.
That would make a lot of sense to me, as it is presumed that all animals need to drink, right? So I would assume that around a watering hole I would find a multitude of creatures. And you guys remember my Chupacabra story. The houses both had a pond. They both had a water source. That is one thing that I noted as a possibility of why the creature would have been in the area to begin with.
Although in saying that, there have been many sightings of them away from the water. The first report came from Pagosa Springs from a woman named Myrtle Snow who saw 5 of these creatures in 1930. While playing by the river, she spotted what she called baby dinosaurs just walking about, but they quickly ran away when they noticed her. Later, farmers started having issues with something killing their sheep, and at one point a farmer actually shot and killed one of the dinosaurs.
Then what happened to the body?
Myrtle states that the body was kept in the barn for quite some time. She says it was gray in color, had a long stout tail, a head like a snake, short arms that looked like chicken feet, and it was covered in fine gray hairs.
So we don't actually know what happened to the body. Got it.
Later in life, she was driving home and saw a similar creature, and a few days later, she saw a green-colored one running into a cave.
Now, if that were the only report, you could say, well, the person was making it up, right? Even though that isn't the first time we've heard of dinos in the States, you'd say the person's probably making it up unless there was another independent report, right? Well, that doesn't happen to be the only report of modern-day dinos in Colorado's.
In 2001, a woman named Shannon Udstund was driving with her daughter near Yellow Jacket. While on this trip, she saw what she thought was a deer run out in front of her car, and so she slammed on the brakes. It was then that she realized that this wasn't a deer, but rather a 3-foot-tall, 5-foot-long creature that resembled a mix between a bird and a dinosaur.
Now that is incredibly intriguing, because if you remember the last dino report, that also sounded like a bird and a dinosaur crossed together. Almost like evolution of the species, right?
Shannon claims that the creature looked exactly like the velociraptors from Jurassic Park.
Ha! See, I told you guys it was probably a velociraptor. That or a baby T-Rex, didn't I? No. But those 2 reports, it doesn't end there, ladies and gentlemen. There's one more.
A few years later, a man was riding his dirt bike with his friend in Pueblo. On their journey, they noticed a green-colored dinosaur-like creature with black stripes on its back and an orange belly run out into a clearing before them. He claims that its hands had 3 toes, and that when it saw the men, it let out an ear-piercing screech.
Did you guys catch that? Did you hear what I heard? 3 toes, right? Isn't that what he said? It had 3 toes. Remember, that's a thing here on this show. 3-toed creatures are very, very specifically cryptid creatures. I've had an encounter with one myself, as you guys know.
He was able to take photos of this creature, but they turned out very blurry. I will mention that there is a photo hanging around of a cowboy supposedly holding the body of one, but I find it questionable.
And I have not seen the supposed picture of a cowboy holding a velociraptor.
Investigators have looked into these claims and have found many more similar stories from Colorado, as well as the surrounding states known as the Four Corners.
And as we get to those states, I'm sure that we'll run upon these dinosaur stories once more. And perhaps they're what's responsible for another interesting paranormal incident that's been occurring in Colorado since the 1970s. And that is the cattle mutilation phenomenon. Nobody really knows how to explain this. A lot of researchers, scientism researchers, let me be very clear there, say that it's just, scavengers and something dies and, it looks like something's off. There's only one problem. The evidence doesn't suggest that. Linda Moulton Howell has done a lot of work in the area of cattle mutilations, and these aren't a recent phenomenon. You see, this started way back in the 1970s. As a matter of fact, in the 1970s, there were over 200 cases of cattle mutilation, which is a pretty big number, right? The bovine corpses stunned the ranchers who found them. The animals' ears, eyes, udders, anus, sex organs, and tongues had routinely been removed, seemingly with a sharp, clean instrument. And I've heard more cases than not that it was more like a laser than a very sharp scalpel, right? Their carcasses had been drained of blood. No tracks or footprints were found in the immediate vicinity, nor were any of the usual opportunistic scavengers. So even the scavenger theory doesn't work in Colorado because a lot of those scavengers just aren't around. Far from being more tabloid fodder, it became a nationally recognized issue, believe it or not. Throughout the 1970s, cases had continued to mount throughout the American heartland. In '79, after thousands of reported cattle mutilations causing millions of dollars of livestock losses, the FBI finally opened an investigation into a series of cases that had reportedly taken place in the New Mexican Indian lands. However, this didn't solve anything. The cases kept coming. Animals started showing up in even more extensive mutilation situations. For instance, a tongue would be missing, right? Or in only one udder would be cut out with laser precision, and the calf could still be seen inside up under where that udder was. I've seen this picture. It's very disturbing. I've seen a multitude of pictures from these cases. And let me tell you, scavenger does not work. Scavenger cuts nothing in precise alignment, right? Like a laser cut. There's not a scavenger in the world who comes up on an animal and with laser precision, very carefully only gets a very one specific piece, right? They got to tear through stuff. There's going to be evidence that the animal was there. So scavengers in most of these cases just don't work. However, there have been some alternate theories that have been put forward. And of course, one of them being the U.S. government is behind it. That's right, the U.S. government. Now, why would the government be interested in killing cattle? Why would they want to destroy citizens' livelihoods? Well, number one, it's the U.S. government. I mean, that's what they do best, destroy citizens' livelihoods. But that aside, why would the government be interested in these cattle? Well, there's a really good reason for this, and that is the tracing of the mad cow disease. That's the theory put forward anyway. I think that's a little bit on the bunkum side, but that's the theory, is that the government is doing it so they can trace mad cow disease in different farms. Now, I just think they would come to the farmer and say, hey, test your cattle, and that would fix that. I don't know why they would have to go under secretive night missions to kill cattle in a field. It just seems a little out of place to me, even for our weird government. But the other one, of course, is aliens. Now, we've heard a number of abduction stories already on this show, a couple of which mentioned the cattle. Remember the one lady said she was really disturbed at seeing what was happening to the calf? There was a couple different mentions I've heard of cattle being aboard different craft in UFO abduction scenarios. As a matter of fact, one of the Colorado cases says it looked like the animal had been dropped from a large height. Its bones had been crushed, and it looked like it had been picked up and dropped onto the ground. Now, I've never seen an eagle swoop down and pick up a cow. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I've never seen that happen in my lifetime. I don't know of any birds big enough to swoop down and pick a cow up and drop it back on the ground. And I don't know why anyone would want to drop a cow from any kind of height like that, right? Why would you do that? That just makes no sense at all. However, in Colorado, that's exactly what they're finding. Cattle that have been mutilated or dropped from high areas or dead for whatever reason and have been cut up in very, very, very precise incisions. And not a drop of blood. Just like the chupacabras, not a drop of blood was found. But I've never even known the chupacabra to have precision cutting and not have teeth marks everywhere, right? That's my point. It's precise. You don't see where a scavenger is dug in and just grabbed apart, right? You don't see where the scavengers even come up onto the land. There's no evidence of blood marks back and forth, no footprints, no paw prints, no nothing. As a matter of fact, one police officer actually turned to Linda Moulton Howe on one of these cases and told her, "You realize this is aliens, right?" And that is the most prevalent theory, and one that I actually, believe it or not, tend to go with, is that it could be aliens abducting cows. Maybe in order to try to study the ecosystem and understand what's going on in the ecosystem. Perhaps they're looking for trace elements of something like radioactivity. I don't know. This is all speculation, of course. But what is not speculation is the fact that these events have been occurring in Colorado since the 1970s. If it had been a modern thing, I would say nope, it's just our government messing with us. But you're talking 4 decades now that this has been going on, and it still continues to this day. And of course, Colorado is not the only state that deals with it. It has been heard about in Idaho and Montana and all the states around Colorado, right? So it makes you wonder if there's something about the area. Then again, maybe it's a Bigfoot, right? Even though that is an animal, I don't think it could be. I don't think they would have the tools to use a laser precision unless Bigfoot is an alien, right? There's something you don't hear every day. People think, well, maybe Bigfoot could be an alien's pet. It could be, or maybe it is the alien, right? We don't know. Who are we to say what's right and wrong? These things seem to disappear out of nowhere and into nowhere, right? Appear and disappear in and out of nowhere. So who knows? Maybe the Bigfoot are the ones that are mutilating the cattle. Maybe it's one of their favorite meals, cow udder and tongue. Maybe it's a delicacy for the Bigfoot, right? And of course, once again, we can speculate all night on the what ifs, but I would put forward that perhaps Bigfoot might be causing the mutilations, perhaps aliens, perhaps the U.S. government. I don't know who's doing it, but I do know that there's plenty of evidence and plenty of news files to check and find out that this is going on. And as of right now, it is unexplained. Therefore, it has a great place here on this show in the state of mystery of Colorado. So far, we've covered dinosaurs. We've covered the blue dilly, the nicest cryptid creature ever, right? One of my favorites. I hope somebody's able to verify that for me. That'd be really awesome. We've covered the cattle mutilations in Colorado. And in the second half, we're going to go over the multitude of Colorado ghost stories. And of course, you guys know that music means we got to go ahead and take a network break. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. You're listening to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show exclusively right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Ribbon Rabbit Hole.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh, yeah. That howl means your weekend has begun. Hi, everyone. It's AJ, the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's mystery state of Colorado? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of Common Sense Radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole, and we have the most extended weekends in radio, right? Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den Show will return again tomorrow night, Thursday. Can you believe it? It's already halfway through July, it feels like. He'll be here tomorrow night, July 15th. And if that doesn't scare you, I don't know what is. Halfway through July, oh my goodness. All the fun and the howl kicks off tomorrow night. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do here on Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Jerry is going to explore Scorpion Reef tomorrow night. I'm truly excited about this. I think the topic is going to be extremely intriguing and interesting, to say the least. That's again tomorrow night, Thursday, July 15th for the Scorpion Reef. Then I'll return Friday night live for Trade Ya. Come along with me as we dive down and explore the fascinating rabbit hole of barter and trade. Is there an art to trading stuff? What do you got? Bring what you have to trade with you. Friday night, June 16th, starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Who knows how this show is going to go? If you have something that you're willing to trade for, not for monetary value, have it ready Friday night. I'll tell you more about it as we get closer to that event. And then Saturday night, come along with me, July 17th, as we explore travelers, not just travelers here on this planet, but I'm talking about extra-dimensional terrestrial travelers, perhaps visiting our planet and have been for a very, very long time. It's going to be an interesting show Saturday night. And then we'll end out the weekend right together on Sunday, July 18th, with a look at insanity. Are you insane? Are you certifiably insane? Perhaps. Maybe. Maybe not. We're going to take a look at people that are. We're going to find out ways that you can find out if you are. And we're going to define insanity Sunday night, July 18th, as we end out the weekend right together with you. We'll return you back to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show for the State of Mystery of Colorado for tonight, Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. You're listening to the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network.
Reestablishing multiverse connection. Connection reestablished and secure.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ, the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have traveled in our State of Mystery series to the great state of Colorado. We went over some incredible cryptids all the way down to some dinosaurs and velociraptors. We've discussed the cattle mutilations that have taken place in Colorado. And now we're going to move on to our ghost stories. That's right.
Cripple Creek. Cripple Creek in Teller County wasn't much in its earlier days. At an elevation of over 9,000 feet, about the only thing that this valley was good for was grazing during the summer. In 1890, a prospector by the name of Bob Womack discovered a rare and rich ore, starting a whole new rush to the area. And in a short matter of time, the Independence Iode was discovered as one of the largest gold veins ever recorded. The town's population skyrocketed to just over 10,000 people by 1893, and over 500 million in gold was retrieved. In April of 1896, a fire broke out, destroying half of the city, including most of the business district. Just 4 days later, another fire broke out and destroyed most of the remaining half. The entire city was rebuilt quickly, within months. When everything was said and done, tragically, Womack died in 1909 without a single dime to show for his stellar discovery. Throughout the years, those brave enough to explore the remnants of this area and surrounding shops and businesses, especially at night, report a host of terrifying hauntings.
And this is the Speakeasy YouTube channel, for those who were wondering. Speakeasy, what kind of reports are we getting from these hauntings in this ghost town?
Hotel St. Nicholas was originally built as a hospital during the rush, and many report the apparitions of a miner, a ghost who smells terrible, and a little boy named Pete. The jail museum acted as the county jail for 90 years, and many report high EMF levels, EVPs, and disembodied laughter from the old solitary confinement room.
Now that's interesting that they've been able to verify the hauntings on EVPs and EMFs.
The Colorado Grand Casino and Hotel shares its space with Maggie's restaurant, and many report the ghostly apparition of Maggie herself, accompanied by the sounds of old music, disembodied voices, and orders shouted from nowhere to waiters or waitresses long deceased.
So this sounds like an incredibly haunted ghost town. It puts the meaning of ghost town into a whole new light, right?
The Brown Palace Hotel. The Brown Palace Hotel in Denver was originally built entirely of sandstone and red granite in 1892. Henry C. Brown, who homesteaded most of the Capitol Hill area, was the original owner and the man after which the hotel was named. It's also built quite the reputation for its wide and often terrifying range of paranormal occurrences. Staff, guests, and visitors to this historic old haunt report lights and faucets turning on and off on their own, disembodied footsteps, knocking and scratching sounds coming from the walls, and the phantom smell of cigar smoke.
That sounds like a classic haunting to me, right? And a lot of times they report that smell of cigar smoke. I've heard that quite a bit in case files.
In 1911, a man by the name of Frank Henwood shot and killed a rival, Sylvester Louis Tony Von Foll, accidentally hitting George Copeland, an innocent bystander at the bar, in the process. It's said that all three apparitions have been sighted here, playing out their final moments leading up to the shooting, and many have even claimed to chat with George, thinking him just another bargoer until he vanishes into thin air.
And we heard a couple weeks ago about a hotel who had an owner who would do the same thing, interact with people, and then just vanish.
The spirit of Denver socialite Mrs. Louise Crawford Hill, who lived in room 904 from 1940 to 1955, has also been seen on numerous occasions in the room, even waking startled guests by slowly pulling the sheets from their bed. She's been known to call employees using the switchboard as well.
Now, as a person that has worked in the hotel field for a few years now, I can tell you, if I ever talked to a ghost on the phone, I think even I would freak out a little bit.
Also reported here, ghostly children throughout the halls, a spectral hotel waiter in the elevator, and even an otherworldly string quartet that has played old-timey tunes for staff and guests.
Again, I don't know how I feel about the ghost music either. I mean, that would probably be kind of cool, right? Just ghost music randomly from like the 20s and 30s that Well, you can't turn it off. That would be a problem, wouldn't it? Might get a little annoying after a while, right?
Georgetown.
Absolute beginners came to Georgetown.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that.
Georgetown in Clear Creek County was officially founded in 1859 during the Pikes Peak Gold Rush by George and David Griffith. The Griffiths were prospectors from Kentucky, and the town name Georgetown was eventually settled on as George was the oldest brother. With such a long and turbulent history, it's no wonder there's more than a few souls that still linger here, with many visitors to the area, nearby residents, and shop staff reporting disturbing happenings. In the Troyes restaurant, formerly Cafe Prague, the ghost of a man by the name of Shamley is said to make frequent appearances. As the local legend goes, Shamley murdered the local butcher, Henry THETA. After he was brought to custody, it was discovered he was also wanted for rape in a different county. He was held in the jail for only one night before a posse of vigilantes broke him out of the jail and hung him.
As we have discussed many of times, this story is the recipe for a haunting, right?
His emaciated, dirty, and broken form has been sighted in the hotel, in reflections, and slinking about the surrounding streets.
But he's not the only ghost of Georgetown.
In the museum, staff and visitors report extreme cold spots to the point of seeing one's breath, phantom tobacco smoke, and the feeling that an unseen presence is always watching. Lastly, in the Hamel house, many report ghostly lights, strange dark figures, and disembodied voices emanating through the night. One documented occurrence tells of an independent actress who was upstairs practicing singing for her role, when all of a sudden she saw a white Victorian-era dress flit by an open doorway.
So if you ever make it to Georgetown, Colorado, maybe you can catch some evidence of some paranormal activity.
Victor Hotel. Victor Hotel in Victor was originally constructed in 1894 by brothers Frank and Harry Woods. Shortly after construction, the railroad came to town, and the hotel accommodated all manner of guests, with Victor Hotel now sporting all modern accommodations. Well, except for the fact that they still boast the original elevator, which is now the oldest running elevator in Colorado. As local legend goes, much of the paranormal activity experienced here comes from that very elevator, as well as the fourth floor where the bodies were stored. And many who are staying on said fourth floor report disembodied voices throughout the halls, footsteps, and full-bodied apparitions that are very pale in old-timey clothing, wandering about aimlessly. These are believed to be the spirits of the displaced bodies, confused and looking for their final resting places. Room 301 is another hotspot, said to play host to a ghost named Eddie. As the story goes, Eddie died when he accidentally stepped into the elevator shaft before the elevator had arrived. He can often be seen stepping into the elevator, donning a sudden surprised look, then tumbling right through the floor with a blood-curdling scream.
That would suck, right? Well, could you imagine living your afterlife by replaying your horridly gruesome death over and over and over? That would be so bad.
Colorado State University. Colorado State University in Fort Collins was established in 1870 and is the perfect school to attend if you're interested in both agriculture and the paranormal. Many of the buildings on campus have stood the test of time, with most of them being constructed in the late 1800s or early 1900s. Throughout the years, it's become very apparent that more than just agriculture is growing in the dark places of this spooky old school, with students and faculty members reporting some pretty disturbing activity on campus. Johnson Hall was built in 1936. It served as a headquarters for the student union and has an attached ballroom. Those brave enough to venture here, especially after dark, report cold spots, shadowy figures, and the disembodied voice of a woman singing. The Student Service Building was built in 1948, and many here report disembodied footsteps, orbs, and photographs, doors opening and closing on their own, chairs rocking by themselves, and disembodied whispers from dark rooms. In Ammon Hall, which was built in 1922, disturbing reports have sprouted up detailing otherworldly giggling, growling, and footsteps sprinting around the atrium. As local legend goes, when Ammon Hall was still a recreation center, a woman drowned here, and many think that giggles and footsteps are her spirit, forever searching for those who didn't help her in time. Centennial Hall was built in 1950, and many who enter it report disembodied footsteps on the main staircase, strange wisps of smoke or fog, and a dark, shadowy apparition that slinks about. And what about Old Main? Sadly, the original Old Main mysteriously burned to the ground in 1970 during a peace rally. And though arson was suspected, the reason was never truly discovered. Lastly, all across campus, students and faculty report shadowy figures at night, unexplainable bursts of wind, and what looks like old lanterns floating through dark and closed-down buildings. On more than one occasion, students have reported seeing other students who are wearing old-fashioned clothing and have even claimed to converse with these students at great length before watching them disappear from existence.
It sounds like every inch of this campus is haunted, and, you know, there's some interesting details there that really make me wonder if there's some kind of time anomaly at the campus at Fort Collins, because you're seeing a lot of like replay stuff from old time, right? You're hearing footsteps from old time. You're running into students with the wrong clothing on. It seems to me there might be a time issue here more so than a haunting issue that may play out and look like a haunting issue, if that makes any sense to you guys. It made sense to me, darn it.
Riverdale Road. Riverdale Road stretches from Brighton to Thornton and appears at first glance like any other backcountry road in the area.
However, this is the most disturbing case file of our whole night.
The drive is really quite scenic, with tall trees, pale grass, and winding canals bordering the roadway.
It's a trap!
There are several ruined structures at distant points and an overpass ominously sitting midway on the drive. The speakeasy has covered some places before that we describe are magnets for paranormal occurrences or hotspots for multiple hauntings over time, but none quite compare to what we've heard, read, and researched about Riverdale Road.
Come on, speakeasy, it can't be that bad, right?
With those brave enough to travel this dark drive reporting otherworldly fog seemingly descending only on the road, black spectral dogs believed to be hellhounds, and disturbing ghoul-like creatures roaming the nearby fields. On several occasions, reports of more infamous beasts have surfaced, and several have reported being chased or even attacked by the likes of the disturbing and mythical Wendigo, skinwalkers, Sasquatch-like creatures, and even werewolves.
You know, I wouldn't think that all those cryptids would get along with each other long enough to survive to attack a human. That's a heck of a mix.
Another local story tells that the road was built over a Native American burial site, and that when it was disturbed, spirits became restless and took the form of half-human, half-animal creatures that prey on any foolish enough to travel through the dark on foot.
And if the movie Poltergeist has taught us anything, it's that you don't mess with Native American burial sites, right?
Another legend surrounding the road is that centuries of dark magic curse the area, and many report ghostly witches shrouded in black mists, animals found on markers without heads, and the smell of sulfur suddenly filling the air. It's also said that a man who once lived off Riverdale Road became possessed by a demon and burned his house to the ground, with his family still inside. His spirit has appeared deranged and angry and has even been known to attack any who approach the old foundation. One of the most famous occurrences on this insanely cursed road is reappearing small, bloody handprints on the road signs. As the story goes, a little boy was walking to school along the road one day and was hit by a car, and no matter how many times the signs are washed or even replaced, the handprints eventually show back up. Along this hellish byway, one can also find the Hanging Tree, a tree rumored to have hanged many witches throughout the years. And any who dare step foot near this tree or go under its branches claim to feel sick, scared, or even like they're dying.
And like I said, one of the creepiest case files ever, and thank goodness it is the last case file of the evening. But what do you guys think? We've covered dinosaurs and cattle mutilations and ghosts of a series of different types, including the Wendigo. So what do you guys think? Do you think Colorado is full of some paranormal activity? Or do you think it will remain a state of mystery? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is look at the case files, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. we got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. That's right, check it out. We will be back tomorrow, Thursday, July 15th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with an all-new episode of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show. That's right. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the subject we were going to cover last week, but it turns out last week was our 100th episode. That's right. We almost didn't catch it in time. We're going to be talking this week about the Scorpion Reef. This is a mystery I'm sure you've not heard of, and one that I cannot wait to dig into. We're going to connect back to last week's episodes of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show, so make sure you check those out before tomorrow night. That's right. And speaking of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show, our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit will be back on Friday, July 16th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All shows here on the network start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. That's right. On Friday, AJ's going to be talking about trading. I do a little bit of trading here and there myself. Whether you're a stock market trader, a real estate trader, or just enjoy trading for fun, maybe you want to see if you can trade from a bottle cap up to a house, right? Or has that already been done once? Maybe. And maybe AJ will talk about all of that, the Rippin' Rabbit, on Friday, July 16th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, on a Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network. That's right. Then on Saturday, July 17th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, he's going to be talking about travelers. Himself having done a little bit of travel lately, I'm sure he will be able to give a multitude of tips to us fellow travelers. Whether you're traveling through reality or through the reality, it makes no difference. Traveling tips are always nice to have, right? Then on Sunday, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit comes back to the airwaves one more time with an all-new episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show to round out the weekend, right? That's right. This Sunday, he's going to be talking about insanity. I'm not crazy. I'm not. You can't prove I'm crazy. You can't prove it. Or maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe I'm insane. Maybe you are too. Maybe insane is just what you need, right? Tune in on Sunday, January 18th, 2021. See, I almost messed it up. 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, for an insane episode about insanity. That's right. I cannot wait. That's going to be so fun. If I miss any episode this week, it will not be Sunday's episode on insanity. But if I do miss any episodes this week, luckily, I know that I can go over to the rippinrabbithole.com and catch them all on demand. That's right. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find, once again, the on-demand section as well as the Down the Rabbit Hole section. But to get access to all this fun stuff, you're going to have to sign up for the Network Pass, for the VIP Backstage Pass. Once you have that in hand, you're going to be able to enjoy all of the things that we offer on the rippinrabbithole.com. Like, once again, the Down the Rabbit Hole section, as well as the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. And a huge shout out to Sandy B, champion right now of the Backstage Lounge, two-time champion of the Backstage Lounge. Also, huge shout out to Champion Sports Nation for the huge win last Sunday on the brand new inaugural episode of Beat Eugene. That's right, Champion Sports Nation is the champion of the Beat Eugene. And can you guys take on Beat Eugene? Well, you'll get a chance next month to do just that. Make sure you go back to the rippinrabbithole.com website to make sure you check for the dates when that's happening. With all that fun stuff said, ladies and gentlemen, we have to get out of here tonight. So on behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Walt House, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, everybody involved at Ripping Common Sense Radio, as well as Tom Bayless and Red Shed Studios. Get it, Tom. If you're looking for a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you check out Tom Bayless and Red Shed Studios. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all these folks, as well as our mod team and everyone who has helped us along the way, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And remember, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay awake, but dare to dream. That's right. Get down with it, Tom. We got a couple seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Bayless. My name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. This has been the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio. Good night, everybody.
I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.